What's happening, guys? Happy Tuesday and welcome to the Dynasty War Zone, the People's Dynasty podcast. And on today's show, we're talking trades, and then more trades. And even if I wanted to, I wouldn't trade this next guy in. He is my co host, he is the man of the hour, and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no kidding, man. It is. We are on the precipice of
You
the
like that word.
I do like that word. The greatest holiday on the American calendar in a few days for Thanksgiving. Throw Christmas away. Throw whatever.
July 4th?
Flag Day. I know Kyle August is a big Flag Day guy, but I am all for Thanksgiving. Excited for it. Hell yeah, man. And everybody gets the curse of watching the Detroit Lions, and it's not just me, baby. It's good for the world.
I don't know what's going to put me to sleep faster, the tryptophan and the turkey or the Lions and the Bears. We're going to discuss that game and many more in just a second. But you mentioned it. We are not alone. We are joined by several members of the DWZ Fantasy Football Network content creators. Starting, I guess I'll just go clockwise around the screen. We have Kyle August. If you don't know Kyle, he is the host of the Fantasy Football Smackdown. Kyle, man, what's going on? It's been a little while since you've been on the DWZ.
Yeah, it has been a minute. You guys were kind enough to let me, join up on the feed this year, but then the Warzone invites came to a screeching halt. So I'm glad that Thanksgiving could bring us all together. Looking forward to hanging with you boys tonight. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that are listening to this in podcast, there will be every normal podcast we always put out. But if you watch or go back to YouTube, we are basically doing all of this on one live feed. We're going to do the Dynasty Warzone. We're going to do the Fabulous Big Bet. We're going to do the Start Sit edition of the Fantasy Football Smackdown. And then we're going to do the Daily Destroyer. It's going to be a unique show, but I know I'm addicted to my podcast that I listen to, so we're not going to leave you high and dry. Next guy joining us, he looks like he's been working out in the prison yard, even though he's like a rocket scientist. He is none other than Baker Mayfield lookalike Dallas Hyder. You can follow him on Twitter at Salad Galore. That's salad with 2 L's. Dallas, man, it's been a while for you as well.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on the mainstay DWZ, but I've been bouncing around to a couple of different shows now that the rookie content has been, drying up a little bit mid-season. But I'm going to be tying in my own twist for tonight, and pretty much everyone I'm going to be talking about is going to be a rookie. So I'm excited to hash it out with some pretty faces here, gentlemen.
I love it. The rookie content, I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to get more familiar with the names that are in college. And our final guest, he's been on here before with us as well. He is one of the co-hosts of the Daily Destroyer. If you're into DFS, and more importantly, if you're into crypto, NFTs, all of that stuff, he's not just a great daily fantasy football content follow on Twitter. And you can follow him on Twitter at it's Lou Dog Sports, but I think you changed it. Lou, welcome back to the show.
Hey, yeah, I changed it. Lou Dog Sherman. Figured, a little broader than just sports. So, my name's not changing, so I switched it over. But excited to be here, talk some Dynasty, because Tyler and I are used to just talking this weekly stuff. But let's look a little broader.
All right, I'm going to ask you because at this point, NFTs are almost pop culture as much as an investment. What is your favorite line? Like I've seen the apes, I've seen, I think, zombies, but what is your favorite current go-to in the crypto market, or I'm sorry, in the NFT market?
Oh, I have one that I came up with earlier today, and it's a little Thanksgiving theme. So people use the phrase "probably nothing." So I think for Thanksgiving this week, I'm going to say probably stuffing instead. So that's going to be my go-to this week. You might see me tweet that a couple times.
All right. Well, listen, I don't know jack and or shit about NFTs or all this stuff, but I do know Lou does. And if you're curious as to what NFTs are, Lou is a tremendous follow at Lou Dog Sherman. So we've got the gang here. So the one thing that we're not going to do is good people, bad tweets. It's a holiday. As much as I would love to put someone on Front Street, we're not going to do that. There is a tweet that Jerry and I are going to cover next week on the return of the regular edition. But in most leagues, this is trade deadline week. Is that common occurrence across your guys' leagues?
I mean, in the leagues that have them, yeah.
Good call, Jerry.
Yeah, I try to stick it to I try to Thanksgiving's usually a good cutoff. So in the leagues that I run that I haven't been outvoted, by democracy, then yeah, it's Thanksgiving.
It's in theory, as the regular season shifted a week with the addition of an 18th regular season week, I just think it's such a good landmark if your league is going to be set with a trade deadline. Thanksgiving week, so we wanted to get this out. So what we're going to do is everybody in this particular group, and if he makes it in, I mean, he's a doctor. Have you ever been to a doctor where the doctor was on time? At some point here in the next little bit, hopefully the good doctor himself, Dr. Kyle Bowser, will be joining us. So we'll save his for last, but I'll go in the opposite order of in which we introduce these gentlemen. Lou, I'm going to go right back to you. And you have one of my personal favorites. Who is the guy in Dynasty that you're 100% making a move on? Either you're trying to acquire this player or you're trying to move off of him before the deadline hits this week.
Yeah, I've been looking at Javante Williams, and I think he's been kind of a hot topic recently, so it might not be as sneaky as maybe a few weeks ago, where now kind of the talk of the town is, Melvin Gordon's probably not going to be there next year, and Javante, he's looking like a stud when he gets the opportunities. And right now, what's holding him back is that he's splitting time. So I'm looking to try to pick up Javante and hoping that maybe right now he's a little cheaper than he would be in the offseason once it's like very clear that he's the top guy and maybe there's some coach speak around it. So I'm looking for Javante. I think he can be a top 10 back next year, and he's my guy.
Well, he's been my guy all off season. I'm going to give you this. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Javante Williams. I recently had I won't mention names, but a person you may know from Fantasy and Dynasty Twitter unfollow me because I said that Javante Williams is my RB8 in a startup this time next year. I mean, it's cool to disagree and all, but I love Javante Williams. Melvin Gordon, going to be a free agent. They traded up to get him. They drafted the Broncos did the same thing the Colts did with Jonathan Taylor, and I'm not calling Javante Williams Jonathan Taylor, but the situations are similar in that the Broncos traded up to spend very high second-round draft capital on him. And I think the Melvin Gordon play, he's been healthy. He's been very productive. But I think he's helped keep acquisition costs down. So I'm going to bounce this one over to Jerry. You know what, Jerry? Forget you. I'm going to Dallas because I know how you feel about Javante Williams. I want to know how Dallas feels about Javante Williams at this point in the season because A, he's a rookie, and B, Dallas was a Michael Carter guy. So Dallas, there is your segue into Javante Williams and into who you're looking to acquire.
Wow, that was weird. That it was telling me to Control D to unmute myself, but it definitely didn't. I pulled a Jerry there for a second.
It's a Control J. That's called you Control J. That's a Jerry. You muted yourself.
There we go. Yeah, it's fitting. No, so for me, Javante has been pretty much exactly what I expected him to be this year. I expected him to be in a timeshare, and I was in the majority that minority in this case, where I didn't think he was really going to quote unquote break out this year. Kyle and I have talked it over quite a few times just from the weekly standpoint of starts and sits. He's a pretty common guy that pops up on the start sit segment. So a lot of people are curious what to do with him in redraft. Honestly, he has been producing, but he's really not getting the volume to allow him to take that next step. So yes, projecting him in a dynasty standpoint is a smart move. I like the move, and I agree that Melvin Gordon most likely will not be on the team next year. So it's looking like a lead role for him. But right now, I'm not overly impressed. He's pretty much meeting expectations. I understand if you dive into the PFF metrics, everyone can jerk him off for days. But for me, I'm not super into him anymore. Yeah, exactly, Jerry. Not super into him any more than what I was before the season. And it actually perfectly dives into my guy that I'm going after right now in a dynasty standpoint. And for me, it is Michael Carter. Not shocking, but it's a great little segue from there. The two North Carolina products this year have both pretty much done exactly what they were supposed to do. You're seeing all of the elusiveness and the tackle breaking ability of a guy like Javante Williams. And then for Michael Carter, he came out and he was supposed to be this pass catching back, and that's exactly what he's done. So over the last 5 weeks, some little stats for you guys. Currently on the year, he's 9th in receptions at the RB position. No running back in the last 5 weeks is within 5 receptions of him. So he's had 5 more receptions over the last 5 weeks than any other back. And this injury makes him attainable perfectly, especially if you're a rebuilder, because if he's on a contender, which there's a chance he was, the ability for you to acquire him for a piece like a James Conner, even for a guy who needs a plug and play right now to stay in relevancy to make the playoffs, doing that flip, is, even if you have to throw a little draft pick in there with him, is something I'm doing. The pass catching is showing exactly what we saw in college from Michael Carter. He hasn't blown any horrible blocks in the pass protection, which was my biggest concern. And it's pretty much been proven that Ty Johnson's being phased out outside of injuries. Unfortunately, the injury popped up. But I'm huge on Michael Carter. Happy with both of the North Carolina backs. And if you can acquire either of them going into this offseason or right now before the trade deadline, I think you should.
All right, before I throw this to my old pal Jerry, you know more probably of anyone in this group about the college players coming into the league in 2022. According to Tankathon, the Jets have the most draft capital. They would currently hold the 2, the 6, the 36, the 43, and the 67. So they have 5 top 67 picks. Does it concern you at all that maybe one of those 5 picks could be a running back in what should be not a great, but a good running back class?
It's not super concerning to me. There's a lot of talk about the Eagles packaging their picks for a quarterback move, but I think the Jets are just as in play, if not more, than the Eagles based off of how their quarterbacks have played. We've seen a quick turnaround of the quarterback position by a lot of teams in the recent past. And I think it's something that you really should consider, especially with, we're lucky enough to get Zach Wilson back this week after his injury stint. If he stinks it up once again on a nationally televised game in prime time, it's something that you have to be a little concerned about. I don't see any of the running backs in this coming up class being first rounders. I don't even see them being late first rounders like we saw with like a Travis Etienne last year, or even Sony Michel when he was coming out. It's not to say that they can't immediately hop into a position, but when it comes to the pass catching chops that we've seen from Michael Carter, he's still going to have a role. And when it comes to the pass catching in our PPR world right now, I'm still as high on him as I am, even if they bring in someone in the 3rd round, which is most likely what's going to happen.
All right. Well, I just wanted to get your thoughts, because when you talk about packaging up a lot of draft capital to get a quarterback, I think that's Jerry's Target's most likely outcome of his offseason. Jerry, what are your thoughts on Michael Carter or Javante Williams, the 2 Carolina running backs, rookies, before you get into your trade target?
So I was not a huge fan of either of them coming out, and I think I was wrong on both fronts. I definitely said some evil shit about both of them in the offseason. I've been wrong before, baby. I'll be wrong again. So I like it, and I think acquiring them both is a good choice. Javante is going to be more expensive for sure, but I do think he's got a hell of a ceiling, and I like the opportunity. Same thing with Michael Carter, I really did not like the prospect of a Jets running back, but my man's been good. You just talked about packaging things up. I'm going to package this up, and I'm going to send it to the highest point in Alaska. It's Russell Wilson. That guy has been absolutely diarrhea in the 2 games that he's come back from. He threw 40 passes in his first game for like 160 yards or something. He hasn't thrown a touchdown. He's thrown 2 picks in the 2 games he's been back. He's 32 years old, which isn't a death sentence. I'm a little bit older than that. I'm less awkward than Russell Wilson is, but I'm also less rich.
In what fashion? The awkwardness.
See, I'm not going to say the F word. They told us not to say the F word. Like, I don't know. So that situation is gross. That without Russell Wilson, that roster is not quite Detroit Lions bad, but it's bad. Like, that's not a good team. So if he leaves there, where's he going to go? And I'm going to think he's going to reproduce all of the stats that he's done previously. I don't see a way that Russell Wilson's value rebounds, whether it's in the short term this year or if he ends up in a new situation next year. And I really don't think he's going to stay in Seattle and they're going to improve exponentially. He just seems like he is the quickest sell while he's still got some name value.
So I just bought Russell Wilson in one of our patron leagues, patron one with our boy Zach.
Are you desperate and you're trying to win this year?
No, but I am. I finished second in the league last year. I've had some injury luck this year to not go my way, and I moved Tom Brady and James Conner for Russell Wilson in a third.
Okay, but I mean, those are two old, decrepit assets themselves that should be falling off. So I'm not mad at it.
And I don't have I won't have like a super high draft pick, and I don't love this rookie class anyway of QBs from a QB standpoint. So getting younger with Russ wasn't the worst thing. I think there's going to be 3 or 4 destinations for Russ this offseason. It's probably going to be Pittsburgh. It's going to be Philadelphia.
And if it's Pittsburgh, nipples. I would like that one. I'll tell you that.
And I want to give Kyle a chance as well. But, I mean, Denver's going to be involved. You know that Pittsburgh's going to be involved. You know that Miami's going to be involved. And even though Jalen Hurts has played real well, I think the only player that if you're a Jalen Hurts GM that you have to fade right now is Russell Wilson. And that's just the ego of the owner. The ego of Jeffrey Lurie does not like waking up and watching SportsCenter and First Take and whoever has like one talk show host yelling at another talk show host. He does not like waking up and seeing that show lead with the Dallas Cowboys every single day. So I think Russ is on the move. Seattle has no draft capital from their horrible trade of Jamal Adams. So I could easily see Russ being on the move, and that move will increase value. But speaking of the Cowboys, the only person on TV more than the Dallas Cowboys is Skip Bayless. And there's no bigger Skip Bayless fan in America than the host of the Fantasy Football Smackdown, Kyle August. I mean, you love the Cowboys. Skip loves the Cowboys. You love Skip?
That is wrong. That Skip Bayless is everything that's wrong with this world. I can't believe you put that evil on me like that, man. No, thank you.
I mean, it's not necessarily right. When I said Skip Bayless and that you were a fan, this is what I actually thought I heard you say through my headphones.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
That's usually how I feel about Skip Bayless, to be honest.
Yes, damn right.
So any takes on Williams, Russ, Michael Carter, anyone before you give us the guy that you're looking to acquire?
Yeah, I think the two running backs are you're definitely looking at trying to get in. And with Carter, I think the injury opens up the door, like Dallas alluded to. I think those two running backs are guys that their price is only going to go up from here. The minute we turn the page on this season, Javante is going to skyrocket because people are going to be like, oh, they're going to play football next year too. That's why we love playing Dynasty. That's why we love, here on this show and in the Patreon chat, everything. We just feasting on other people in the leagues that get tunnel vision to only what's in front of them. You can take advantage of those values. So I would definitely go, if you want those guys, if you're interested in them at all, this is the time. Do it right now. No question. As far as Russ goes, I had this discussion with a friend of the show, G, long distance phone call. Shout out to the Aussie guys. It was G's birthday, supposedly, he says, but who knows what day it actually was because they're on the other side of the world. But we had this conversation about just trading quarterbacks the other day, and it's really tough because outside of the top 5 or 6, you're kind of in this weird spot where you can either live in current rookie class land, which is all over the map, and extremely concerning when you're looking at what we've gotten so far out of this class, or you can play in the old man sandbox with like the Kirk Cousins of the world. So where does Russ sit with that? Like, if you want to get out from him, where do you go? Are you okay?
Next time you besmirch the good name of Kirk Cousins, I will drive down 94 and I will be there in 4 hours, Kyle.
QB14, man. It's all good. No, I like the dude.
Now that Jerry has insulted one of our fellow hosts and friends, Kyle, I do want to make sure that I do have to back Jerry a little bit. I mean, all Kirk Cousins is doing is supporting the wide receiver 6 and the wide receiver 8 on the season. And not only are they 6-8, but they're past their buys and still at 6-8. So I'm just nothing wrong with Kirk Cousins. He's just weird.
Yeah, he's believe me, he has taken my redraft teams to a whole new level this year. I'm totally cool with him from there. But the dude's 33, so it's just like for Dynasty, like how much longer are you going to feel secure with that, you know? But I doubt he's on that Tom Brady diet. He seems like a guy who does enjoy a strawberry every once in a while. So as far as guys that I'm looking to buy, similar to those rookie running backs, I'm trying to take a look at the guys that are injured, that haven't played a single down of football this year. I'm talking about J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, and Travis Etienne. Just like I was, what these guys were talking about with the rookies and how I said, people they forget quick. These guys are all, I think different levels. I think, Etienne's probably the lowest of the three for me, but they're all running backs that their value is not going to go anywhere but up. The minute we turn this page, people are going to be like, okay, I can count on these guys. The perfect storm for those guys, if you want to try to acquire them right now, is see if they're on a contender. Obviously, if they're, the one thing you can usually count on with any contending team in whatever dynasty league you're in is make an offer and just be like, hey, you want a championship? Here you go. Here's Zeke Elliott. Here's Darrell Henderson. Here's, Aaron Jones. Personally, if I had Dalvin Cook, I'd be shipping his ass off to a contending team right now for Dobbins and a piece and feel really good about it. So those are the guys that I'm trying to acquire right now as far as, players that I think value is only going to skyrocket. Even if you don't believe in those guys, to be honest, I would just try to get them, hold on to them for a few months and then flip them for cash, by the time everybody's looking at their 2022 roster. So as far as guys I'm looking to target, I'm trying to go after those younger running backs that have been out of mind for the last 4 months.
I love it. You better hurry up on Akers. There's still a real world where he might get a few snaps in the playoffs. They've not actually put him on season-ending IR. I want to go back to Dallas real quick. Just a quick question, and then I'll give you Dr. Kyle's and I'll give you mine, and we'll wrap this show up. Dallas, where would you rank Akers, Dobbins, and ETN amongst the bigger names? You don't have to get deep down into the top 15 rookie running backs in the upcoming class, but where would you rank these three amongst, say, the top 3 to 5 at the running back position currently slated to come out in 2022?
Do you want them as prospects for me, or do you want them where they're standing right now?
Just where they're at right now, right this second.
Okay, the injuries do make quite a bit of a difference for me, specifically for the Achilles. Workout videos are really cool. They're a fun little hype train video, but for me, I wasn't a massive Cam Akers fan coming out. He proved me wrong while he was healthy and playing, but since the injury did happen, he would probably be out of my top 5 if you were to drop him alone into this class, just based off of the upside that you see from guys. When it comes to Dobbins, I love Dobbins. Call it my Ohio State homerism, if you will, but I would put Dobbins most likely number 2 behind Spiller. Spiller is my favorite back in this class right now. It's kind of an uncommon opinion. A lot of people like Breece Hall a lot more just for his versatility. But the power aspect of Spiller's game, I think, is something that's not talked about a lot. I would probably end up ranking them Spiller, Dobbins. I'm really not that high on Breece. Breece would probably be number 4 behind Etienne. And then 5 for me. This one's I would probably have to go Kyren Williams. I'm a lot higher on Kyren out of Notre Dame than a lot of people are, just because the pass catching is absurd. And he's still the best pass blocking back in the entire draft. And I will fight someone on that, even though he's like 190 pounds dripping wet. But he showed quite a bit of top end speed this year that people weren't really sure if he had, similar to Mr. Jerry's very own Kenneth Walker. People questioned both of their top end speeds, and it took quite a bit of training in the offseason for both of them. It looks like they stepped it up a little bit of a gear, but those would probably be my top 5 right now if they were all thrown in there. Honestly, the sleeper, if you guys want the sleeper, probably is pushing the top 5 is Ely, out of why am I blanking? Ole Miss. He's pushing the top 5 for me. Specifically that A&M game, he was absolutely unstoppable. If you guys haven't watched the film breakdown on Ely out of Ole Miss in that game, that's probably rounding out my top 5 or 6. So that's the general order for me.
See, there you go. A little rookie talk. And speaking of this next guy, he's not a rookie. He's fashionably late, but looking great in his spectacles. It is Dr. Kyle Bowser. Dr. Kyle, what's up, man?
Tell me my microphone works.
Your microphone sounds like not like $1 million, more like $68. But
That's fine. That's like a 40% depreciation rate. I think I'll take it.
That's about market. Speaking of market, give us your guy that you're moving or acquiring in Dynasty Fantasy Football.
All right, I'm going to go simple here. Moving all these damn running backs who have no business starting in a backfield 4 months from now. I have one of my rosters. I have Ty Johnson, Devonta Freeman, Alex Collins, and Deonta Foreman, and I'm not contending at all. They'll all be gone by Thursday. And then I'm going to buy all the injured guys. Give me your JKs, your Akers, your ETNs, your Henrys, if you can. And I bought Hawk today in a league I'm not contending, and I wanted to get rid of Wentz. I moved Wentz and Jonnu Smith for Hawkinson. Tight end premium.
I like it. I think you forgot the king of this list. This is like the list that if you I have a hand raised. Go ahead, Kyle.
It's Cordell Patterson, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, well, no, there's actually two. Then
James Conner?
Yes, James Conner. He is the king of
all these guys.
This list of names feels like they should all be fighting in a parking lot, like of hobos. Corduroy Patterson, James. I think James Conner right now could easily get you a second. Easy get you a second. And one of our patrons asked me in the group chat earlier, do I think he re-signs? Maybe, but do I think maybe they draft a running back? Do they bring in a free agent? They weren't super loyal to Kenyon Drake, and they actually traded for him. I like what Cliff Kingsbury's doing in Arizona, but I don't know that I love it long term. So if I can, and James Conner, I don't want to put the Maloik on him, but he's actually been healthy all year. And when was the last time you could say that 11 games into a season with James Conner? So 12 touchdowns is great. I'll give you my guy real quick, and then we're going to transition this over to a little bit of gambling, a little bit of gaming now that Dr. Kyle's in the house. I actually heard on another fantasy podcast that this guy was a top dynasty sell. Cool. Sell him to me. Jaylen Waddle. Big fan of the way they're using this guy. He is a target magnet. Over the last handful of games, he's had a 13-target game. He's had an 11-target game. They have just used the snot out of this guy, and I love it. Yeah, I know the ADOT and the air yards and all the metrics that, you know what metric matters? Fantasy points. I love fantasy points. You can have air yards and targets and all that other happy horse shit. I'll just take the fantasy points. Do I think that Tua is the quarterback in Miami? Here's the thing. I've seen him be really productive with Tua. So if Tua's still there, I feel like he'll still be productive with Tua. If they get rid of Tua, what would they get rid of Tua for? Wait for it. It would be an upgrade in the form of Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers or someone like that. So the odds of his quarterback play being worse than it is this year, next year, isn't very good. So if other dynasty services want to tell you to move Jaylen Waddle, ship him to me. Jerry, what two things we're always looking for? They start with V and value. And remember, it does start with V, but we're already on strike one with the good folks at YouTube. So tread lightly.
Value and volume, my friend.
Volume and value. This guy is going to be a value. I've already offered a contenders first. This guy was in Superflex last year. Waddle was going around the 201, depending on Terrace Marshall belief. Who else was in that mix?
Nothing. Good times.
Oh,
Good times.
Terrace Marshall?
Terrence Marshall over Jaylen Waddle.
Yeah.
Terrace, Jerry
Bateman.
Terrace.
I'll say Terrence until the day
I
I'm dead.
and you will be as right as his target share has been this year because he's currently being out targeted by Brandon Zylstra. That's right. I don't even know where that guy went to school. I can't even guarantee you that he went to college. But there you go.
BYU.
Bezo?
Yeah. Is he a friend of
No.
yours?
Yeah, I went to school with Bezo.
Is that right? Jeff Bezos?
Western New England. No, I'm just kidding. I'm messing around.
All right. Well, at this point, we're getting a little bit off. I'm going to go around the horn real quick. Dr. Kyle, we're going to be talking some gambling here in a minute. Looking forward to that. Make sure you tune in on Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. Make sure you tune in on Thursday for the fabulous big bet. I'm going to go around the horn. You guys want to add anything before we head out the door and go talk about gambling? Kyle, Mr. Kyle August of the Fantasy Football Smackdown.
Yeah, Dr. Kyle got to this doc before me, and he laid it out there perfectly. If you are not a contender right now, you better be shipping these expiring pieces for anything. Take a fourth, doesn't matter. Get them off your damn roster. And if you're not, then you might, and you're not putting that effort in, you might be playing the wrong sport here. So get out of this game while you can. Save yourself some money. But the real players are making moves right now. So don't get lazy. Don't get lazy.
You know, Jerry and I talked about this last week and the week before. Even your best performing veterans is going to take a 25% pay reduction in about, we'll say about January. The value is going to go down because you're no longer giving you fantasy points. All right, Dallas, I'm going to throw it to you. Anything to add before we get out of here?
Not particularly with that. I would just say running backs are extremely popular. To go after this time of year. None of us really talked about any of the veteran wide receivers. There's that stigma, the age cliff of that 28, 29-year-old wide receiver that a lot of people don't like to go and acquire. But one name that I would be acquiring, especially based off of how his season has been going, is a guy near and dear to my heart, Mr. Allen Robinson. He has a huge amount of upside going into this offseason. He will not be on the Bears. They cannot franchise tag him for a third time. It's just financially not stable. He never built up a rapport with Justin Fields, so look for him to go to a contending team because he's pretty much done with I'll take the money. So I would really expect him to land with one of those high-end quarterbacks. Maybe even as wild as it sounds, a place like Kansas City where he knows someone that can consistently get him the ball. So you can acquire him dirt cheap. He's aging piece that a lot of people don't really want on their team because he hasn't shown anything even remotely that could be considered a sign of life this year. So that would be my other piece of advice from the wide receiver position as an acquirer.
And I'm going to spin off of that. If you're looking for guys to acquire, go look for those pending free agents. Like Juju's value couldn't be more suppressed. But he's going to be a free agent, and hope springs eternal when he lands on a new team. Dr. Kyle, we're coming back with some gambling. Anything on a dynasty standpoint before we go talk a little wagering?
Be active. The FFPC trade deadline is this week. I must have sent out like 20 offers, maybe tons of offers. Granted, it helped that my wife was away for the weekend, and I had zero friends in New York City. Which is true most weekends, but especially true this past weekend. I must have spent all of Saturday night, all of Sunday morning, and then a good chunk of my free time today just blasting offers. Just like, obviously be reasonable, but the more you send out, the more likely you're to get something back. And just it's fun. Like nobody likes a quiet trade deadline in a dynasty league. It's boring.
That's a good call. Jerry, anything to add before we get you out of the Dynasty War Zone and to get you to uncharted waters of other podcasts?
Yeah, I will certainly drown in those later podcasts, but it's fine. I drowned in this one. For the record, Brandon Zylstra went to Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota. They play at Jake Christensen football field, obviously, powerhouse.
What's the mascot? The Fighting Geese?
What was his locker number?
All right, give me a little more. Wikipedia didn't have all that information. I was ill prepared.
Well, then while you're looking, I'm gonna throw it to Lou. Lou, anything you want to add before we get you into the world of gambling?
Yeah, I guess mine. It's somewhat of a question that maybe is good for viewers, but I know we kind of talked about Russ Wilson, but what's your thoughts about trying to trade for some of these older quarterbacks cheap, because it's hard to find quarterbacks on waivers. At least in all my leagues, like the only guys out there are backups. So maybe it's a way to acquire someone for cheap is by going after someone old and, someone like a Ben Roethlisberger who, is only going to have one season left or something. And then maybe if your team is bad, you're able to draft someone better next year.
Me personally, I've been sharing this with our patrons at patreon.com/Dynasty Warzone, is I'm all about Kirk Cousins. We joked about him earlier. I mean, Kirk Cousins is going to be a Minnesota Viking next year, whether you like, as Ric Flair used to say, whether you like it or whether you don't, learn to love it, because he's going to be in purple and yellow next year. His dead cap number's $42 million, or approximately about 1/5 of the salary cap. Kirk Cousins is a great target right now if you're a contender. Why? Because you're going to get the rest of this year, including the fantasy playoffs, and all of 2022. Yeah, you'll have to figure it out. Where's he going to go in 2023? But he'll still only be 34, 35 years old, and he'll get one more contract somewhere else. So that's the kind of veteran QB that I'm looking to get. Jerry, what is the mascot of the Concordia College?
Accordions. Say accordions.
No, the Cobbers. I don't know what the hell a cobber is, but that's not.
I know what a knobber is, but again, we're already on.
Yeah, it's Kyle.
We're already on double. We're already on double secret probation here at the Dynasty Warzone. So we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna go start talking gambling action with the fabulous Big Bet. I super appreciate all these guys dropping by for you guys to tune in and listen. Now, listen, if you don't normally listen to the Big Bet and you like these guys, same cast of characters going to join me and Dr. Kyle for a quick gaming pod. But I want to thank these guys so much. We're trying to do a long show so that we can get through Thanksgiving and spend some time with our families. So on behalf of both Kyles, Jerry, Lou, and Dallas, my name is Memphis. And remember, here at the Dynasty Warzone, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. What's happening, guys? Happy Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving, and welcome to the fabulous Big Bet. I am your host. I am Memphis. Along with me and a cast of characters is my co-host. You know him as Dr. Kyle Bowser, but he's back after another week of gallivanting around New York City.
I'm a killer. I'm the dirtiest player in the game. I know one thing: win at all costs.
Dr. Kyle, man, how was the comedy routine or whatever it was last week with the lovely Mrs. Dr. Kyle?
Phenomenal. If you have never checked out Eliza Schlesinger's stand-up, do it immediately. Her Netflix special, Elder Millennial, is one of my favorites of all time. Typically don't like comedians who do a lot of voices, but she nails them. She nails being a millennial. She nails, guys navigating relationships, girls navigating relationships. And then, the one we saw last week at Beacon Theater, 7 months pregnant and just all over the stage and just great points. Eliza Schlesinger. It's a mouthful, but she's worth it.
All right. Well, we have guests. This is part of the DWZ Football Network of fantasy podcast, gambling podcast. We have a host from every show. Now, we have Dr. Kyle and we have Kyle August. Kyle is the host of the Fantasy Football Smackdown. Kyle, you a little nervous to be talking gambling here on the big show?
12 months ago, I would have been, but luckily the great state of Illinois and all of our mounds of debt have legalized the crap out of everything known to man. So I've been making some money this year listening to you guys as well, and it's been fun. So I'm looking forward to being on this show for the first time.
Yeah, man, we're very excited to have you. Going to be a good show. Good to know that Illinois, not only can you get legal weed, but you can get legal gambling. All right. You're sometimes co-host and the regular host of the Rookie Rundown. Get used to this voice. Get used to this man. He will be helping us with a bunch of rookie content in the offseason as early as after the Super Bowl. It is Mr. Dallas Hyder at Salad Galore on Twitter. Dallas, what's up, man?
Hey, it's great to be talking some numbers and monetary betting lines. That is not something I'm typically well-versed in doing, but I'm sticking tried and true this week with a position that I've been pretty solid on this year. So stay tuned for my take on that position.
Awesome. Awesome indeed. And speaking of making money, this guy not only helps you make money in DFS, he can help you make money with crypto and NFTs. We talked all about that in Wednesday's edition of the Dynasty Warzone, formerly at the Twitter handle Lou Dog Sports. You can now find him at Lou Dog Sherman. He is the co-host of the Daily Destroyer with our man Tyler O. Lou, what's going on, man?
Good. I'm in the state of Colorado, who they decided to take pick'ems out recently, so I've been kind of bummed on that, but still able to use sports books out here. So excited to talk some betting as well.
Well, we're excited to have you, man. Definitely going to be a good time. I am going to hang out with Lou. One thing I've learned in my year and a half of talking to Lou, interacting with him, is this guy knows how to get money. Whether it's and it sounds funny. It's not like he's like, got a ski mask and a pistol. I mean, this guy's out there making money in DFS. He's making money in crypto. He's making money in NFTs. That's the wave of the future. And surround yourself with really smart, talented people. That's why Lou's here. But that's not why this next guy's here. He's here because I love him. And he's my co-host of the Dynasty Warzone. It is the man of the hour and the man with the power. He is Jerry Sinclair.
I thought it was weird that you invited me onto a gambling show and we weren't going to just talk poker theory, but it's fine. I'm here. Listen, can we just talk about how handsome Kyle Balzer is looking today? Like Dr. Kyle, God damn, this man came put together today. So for one, you brought up Eliza. Me and the wife love her. She is awesome. I would definitely recommend watching that. Didn't you go to a Rangers game recently? You're just a man on the town nowadays.
Yeah, I actually saw the greatest Rangers game of all time this Sunday night. Ryan Lindgren, game winner, 0.4 seconds left.
Look at this guy. He's so cultured.
He is
so far beyond anything I can bring to the table.
Going to
Cultured.
a hockey game.
Some people say cultured, others say tired.
Some people think of like the theater. They think about Broadway. But Jerry.
Listen. Hold on.
Wait. You want to know cultured? Cultured is I can get you from my seat in Madison Square Garden onto New Jersey Transit, Amtrak, or the LIRR in less than 6 minutes. That's cultured right there.
I don't know if that's resourceful.
Cultured here in the murder mitten involves drinking beer that's out of the side of a van and there's trash cans that are on fire. Kyle August knows what I'm talking about. That was a little Detroit Lions versus Dallas Cowboys tailgating experience. We're built different here.
Heck yeah.
Not better. It's not better. It's just different.
We're going to do something different, especially for Kyle, Lou, Dallas, and Jerry. We're going to talk about some gambling. We don't have time for the full normal recap. I will just tell you on bets last week, Kyle was 2-3. I was 3-2. We both missed on those. I mean, damn Seattle Seabirds and Mallet Finger Wilson, and it's just been a train wreck with that guy. And stop betting against Arizona. I don't care if it's Colt McCoy. Shady McCoy. I don't care. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury has this team dialed in and ready to win. So what we're going to do on this show, we are just going to talk about some player props and the 3 games on Thursday. You're listening to this Thursday morning, or you may be listening to this after the games have already kicked off. But we're going to give you a little bit of action on everything Thursday, and then I will pop back on here on Saturday or Sunday. I will go over the Sunday slate. I'll cover Monday Night Football, as well as some additional player props. I will do a one-time return to the ring of the People's Propcast, so popular from last year. Props have been going well for me. I have been 8-1 over my last 9. So, Kyle, I've got my mojo back as it relates to props.
Which Kyle are you talking to?
The one that co-hosts the gambling show.
I had to do it. I know. You're crushing it.
You're
making me money. You're making my friends money. You're making my friends' money. You're making my enemies money. It's great.
One of my favorite props to attack are you're never going to get rich betting on or against Travis Kelce or Darren Waller or George Kittle. But you know what? There's a lot of money to be made out there on guys like Ryan Griffin, Adam Troutman. I mean, Anthony Ferkser has made me a bunch of money this season. People hate these low reception total, no name tight ends. I love them. I can't get enough of those on prop bets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just through the 3 games, and I'm going to ask anybody if they have anything. I've got a couple of things on the games, and then we'll just jump into some player props. First game, Jerry's Detroit Lions taking on the Chicago Bears. Chicago road favorite. Detroit getting 3.5 at home. Total on the game 41. I'll go around the horn. Kyle August, do you have anything on this game?
I do. I have a player prop on this one. Is that
Okay.
you want it now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and knock them out.
Okay, so because it's this game, I like the over on DeAndre Swift receiving yards, just 33.5 on DraftKings. He was at that number every single game, and then all of a sudden Jared Goff needed an epidural or some shit, and then they had to start a man named Boyle. But I think that Goff will be back this week. It's sounding a little bit better, and I think Swift will just get back to his old ways. It's been a little bit of a weird couple weeks, but I like taking the over on 33.5 receiving yards for DeAndre Swift on Thanksgiving. Put that right next to the side of cranberry sauce, and I'm a happy man.
Cranberry sauce. Can't beat it. Dallas, now you are a quasi Bears fan. Do you have anything on this game or any of the games? We'll just stick with this game.
Yeah, specifically for that game, I think the Bears are going to lose this one. So Jerry, you should be pretty happy about this one. I have the Bears losing, and so I guess I would say Detroit winning outright in this game would be a line I'd be pretty comfortable with. The Bears are cycling back into the not the Danny Dimes era, the Andy Dalton era, and he doesn't have a connection with literally anyone on the team. It's been abysmal every time he's actually been out there on offense. A lot of people that have watched these Thanksgiving Day games over the last couple of years have seen the Bears pretty handedly take care of the Detroit Lions, but that was a weird thing with Mitchell Trubisky just always kicking the crap out of the Lions on Thanksgiving. It just never really made sense. Everyone's pretty much hurt for the Bears. Khalil Mack on defense is out for the remainder of the year. Danny Trevathan is banged up. Darnell Mooney is banged up. Allen Robinson is banged up. The offensive line is banged up, all for Chicago. On the reverse side of it, Detroit is finally starting to get a little bit healthy. So I'm not pulling for your Detroit Lions to win, Jerry, but I think it's pretty regular, pretty normal to put some money down on them. I think it's a pretty comfortable bet that I'd be comfortable with at least. And I'm a Bears fan, so.
All right, there you go. The Bears fan, he's going leaning toward Detroit on the outright win. Jerry, did you have anything, a player prop, anything on this game?
No, the one thing I will say about this game is I'm going to guess it is eye cancer. I think you're going to rather pour hot gravy into your eyeballs than watch this game. For the most part, you're going to want to focus on your family. If there's anything a Detroit Lions fan during Thanksgiving can tell you about this game, you're going to want to focus on your family until your two uncles start talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, and then you're going to shift, and that's when you're going to focus on the Lions, and that's going to be a lot better for you. That's what I'll say about that matchup.
Yeah, I'm with Jerry. I'm going to talk Lions and Bears before I talk politics, anything like that. Lou, you have a prop for us later in the evening game. You have anything on this one for us?
Yeah, the line wasn't up earlier, but I like Marquise Goodwin. It's over. I'm seeing 38.5 right now for receiving yards. So with Andy Dalton specifically, he's had about 12% target share. Mooney is first. He's basically been dominating the Dalton targets, but without Allen Robinson there, I expect Goodwin to get a few more, and he's the type of player who could just get the 38 yards on one target and be done with it then. So I kind of like Marquise Goodwin this week.
All right, Dr. Kyle, did you have anything on this game? Because I've got a prop.
Yeah, I'm on the Lions side here, especially with getting the hook. There's got to be turmoil in the Bears locker room right now. Matt Nagy thinks he's got good communication with the ownership. Andy Dalton is taking back over. Give me Dan Campbell just pumping guys up day after day. I don't know if getting Goff back is the greatest thing, but the total I would also be on would be under 41.5. Dan Campbell has taken over play calling, and the dude just wants to ground and pound. And just slow the game down, just so old school. So Lions, I love the money line call.
Oh, you don't call
sprinkle some
wrong
on
plays on 3 and
plus
13?
3.5, and then sprinkle some on the money line and tease 3.5 up to 9.5, and the total up to 47.5. Do it all. It's Thanksgiving. Be gluttonous, folks. Just bet on it all.
There you go. Dr. Kyle, of course, going all in. I do have a hypothetical question. What kind of gravy goes with kneecaps? Is that a white gravy? Is that a brown gravy? I'm not really sure how Dan Campbell is going to fix his kneecaps. But for me, I want to I want to go back to, I think it was Jerry talking about your family. See, this is the game. This is the pro move. You only get this at the Fabulous Big Bet and at the DWZ Fantasy Football Network of shows. This is the game where you go to your significant other that maybe doesn't like you watching football all the time and say, honey, we're not going to watch this game. I'm going to sit down with your grandma and we're going to talk about sewing and what she wants for Christmas and all this other dumb stuff so that at least you can squeeze in the last 2 games. No, I'm not going to watch football. You know, that they'll come up to you. Oh, let me guess, you're going to go plop down in front of the TV and just watch football? Absolutely not, babe. I love you. I love your family. And we're going to sit down and we're going to have a great conversation. Forget football, at least until 4:30 when the Dallas Cowboys come on. So my player prop on this game, I wanted it to take Chicago and lay the 3.5, but I think the way they lost that game against the Ravens on Sunday broke their back. They had that game won, and they literally won it in the last minute of the game. Now there's talk they might fire Nagy. I don't think they'll fire Nagy until after the game. That was my initial thought, but I'm going to go with a David Montgomery prop. I'm going over 76.5 rushing yards. Detroit, 31st in the league in rushing yards given up. Only one team gives up more than that, and I believe that's the New York Jets. The Lions are giving up 115 yards a game. The last time these two teams played in week 4, Monty had 106 yards. He's had at least 60 yards rushing in every game he's ever played against the Detroit Lions. And it does look like Andy Dalton is going to be the quarterback with the ribs being banged up for Fields. So I kind of like them just in a boring game. I think everybody's got the right mindset. This is going to be a boring game. The only reason why I'm not looking at the unders because I can see this being a turnover fest. Whether it's Jared Goff, whether it's Andy Dalton, even Justin Fields has been sacked quite a bit and had a few fumbles. So I'm just going to stick with my David Montgomery prop. I am going to go to my boy Kyle August as our resident Cowboys fan here. The Las Vegas Raiders on Thanksgiving going to Dallas. Dallas laying 7.5 at home, total of 51. Kyle August, I'm going to give you the first crack at this one as you are a Cowboys fan. Make sure to spend time with Mrs. Kyle before this game comes on so that you can buy your way into this peacefully.
The greatest thing that God ever did for me was put the Lions as the pairing to the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, because my entire life has been, you know what, we have a perfect time to eat dinner. It's whenever the Lions are playing. Doesn't matter who they're playing, we eat during that game. And then the dessert to end it all is going to be the Dallas Cowboys game. Hopefully they get their head out of their asses and show up this week back at home. They've been pretty piss poor against the AFC West so far. Lots to be determined still as far as if CeeDee Lamb can play or not. I believe it was, I can't remember if it was Roto World or wherever, there was a blurb. It's just like Jerry's son says he could pass concussion protocol, talking about CeeDee Lamb. I don't know if any of those people know what they're doing up there, but if Lamb is there, you feel a lot better about, the over in this one and the Cowboys. But if he's out, this offense could struggle just a bit. But I have a player prop for this one. I'm going under 89.5 total yards for Zeke. He's been banged up. The dude's a monster. He continues to play, even though he continues to get hurt. He got hurt again on Sunday, came back into the game. He's a full participant in practice, but he's been a full participant in practice at previous weeks as well. But then when he gets in the game, you can tell he's really not 100%. So I'm gonna lean into the under on that one. Over the last month, he has not eclipsed 55 rushing yards total, and he only has one game over 25 receiving yards. So he has not gone over 80 yards in any game total yards over the last 4 weeks. So you can I feel really good about that, taking the under on total yards for Zeke. On Thursday, you're going to see a lot of Pollard, I think, a little bit even more than usual.
All right, Dallas. Anything on Dallas and the Raiders?
Not particularly. Dalton Schultz has been good, but the target consistency has been a little bit wavering over the last couple of weeks, so it's not as consistent. Although Amari may be out again, I would assume, with this lingering injury that he has. Gallup has pretty much stolen Dak's eye. I feel like every time Gallup is healthy and in the game, he just is immediately who Dak takes a deep shot to at the beginning of the game almost every time. He's been a pretty consistent target holder over his career with Dak Prescott, and I think a lot of the targets that we saw with Schultz are going to end up going to Gallup. So I would probably be avoiding any of the Dalton Schultz prop bets this week from a betting standpoint, and he's not really high on my weekly rankings from the tight end position in general.
Oh man, I kind of liked Schultz a little bit in this one. The Raiders are the 7th most generous defense to the tight end, and I could see this. And they've been somewhat difficult for wide receivers. Dr. Kyle, I'll throw it back to you. Jerry, anything on this game?
I mean, the only thing I would talk about is Michael Gallup, and Dallas sort of already hit on that, and I don't want to regurgitate it because if Amari's out and if CeeDee Lamb is out, let that guy go to the moon. That's about all I got, though.
Yeah, I did the research while Jerry was going to the moon, and the Raiders are the 3rd toughest matchup for the wide receiver, the 7th easiest matchup for the tight end. I might look at some Dalton Schultz. Lou, anything on your end on this game?
I kind of like the under in points. It's at 51 right now. And I just think both teams have sort of been struggling recently. And if the Cowboys are going to end up without Lamb and Cooper, I could see them struggling to move the ball a little bit. Zeke hasn't really been super efficient on the ground, like Kyle was saying. So I could see this being more of a slog of a game. And both defenses have been pretty solid. So I think I'm going to look at that under bet.
That was going to be my bet on this game as well. I was going to go with the under. 51 just seems ridiculous. I mean, we just watched Dallas play a 10 times better offense in Kansas City than the Raiders. The Raiders have been really like a ship lost at sea without John Gruden calling plays. I mean, they just, and then they doubled down and lost their field stretcher in Henry Ruggs, and this offense has just looked so plain and so boring and so vanilla that I love the under 51. I think 46.5 is about the right number, and I think you're getting a ton of value there. Dr. Kyle, anything on the boys and the Raiders?
I like the under as well. I can't lay that kind of lumber with the Cowboys, so if you have to, gun to my head, take a side. Raiders, short week, banged up. Next week's probably way more important, playing New Orleans, especially since the Eagles just beat them. I don't know if it'll come down to games in common or something at some point, but the Eagles are going to be nipping at the Cowboys' heels. So, I mean, I'm a Cowboys.
Have some faith, man.
No, 12 years of Sinclair, I have zero fucking faith. You know that.
Oh,
It's
you
the
can't
Eagles,
say
man.
that word.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Your
can't.
culprit right there.
I'm
Faith?
gonna. Yeah,
I'm
no.
sorry. I forgot we were
other-
non-denominational.
The other one. We're already on double secret probation.
That's the F word you can't say. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, that one right there. Well, let's transition quickly. Maybe they'll be so enamored with the Buffalo Bills
Love it.
at the New Orleans Saints. Buffalo laying. I don't know. Buffalo laying 4.5, coming off of a shellacking at the hands of the Colts. Total of the game 46. I'll reverse it. Jerry, anything on this particular game?
Nothing that would help you. This is the problem. Is I am
I
so
love
far
the
out
honesty.
of I'm so far out of my element. I would only be detrimental. So it's better than me, pissing in your Cheerios in the morning. Go get your milk. Talk to the people with the milk, not the people with piss.
All right, Lou, you have a prop on this
metaphor.
game.
Weird metaphor, by the way.
Do you piss in the bowl and then put the Cheerios in, or is it Cheerios?
No, absolutely not. You damn well know the cereal goes in first.
I mean, I heard him say that. And I thought about this. But I didn't think it would be fair because even though he's not the co-host of the Fabulous Big Bet, he's still my boy. That's my boy, Jerry. Lou, you have an actual prop bet to help the listeners of this podcast. Why don't you fire away?
Yeah, it's funny because I think I wrote this prop down an hour and a half ago, and it's already been bet down pretty far. But originally I got it on Emmanuel Sanders under 50 yards of 50.5, and now it's down to 41.5. So I guess I was right on that. And
out here moving lines.
I mean, not that I put a ton of money on it, but yeah, he hasn't really been doing much recently, and he's only had over 50 yards once since their week 7 bye. And now Beasley's back. He's likely to, I think he was at 57% of snaps last week. So he's trending up in usage. And then Gabe Davis is also trending up in usage. And I mean, Emmanuel Sanders is 34 years old now. So I think when it comes down to it, even 41 might be an okay line to go under, but definitely at 50, I wanted that. So I'll have to think about the 41.
Yeah, it seems like it moved. Kyle August, anything on the Bills and the Saints?
When I looked earlier, a lot of the prop bets weren't up there, but I will put a $5 on Taysom Hill to score a touchdown at plus 500, because if Sean Payton does anything, he's going to show some love to his boy Taysom Hill on Thanksgiving. I mean, let's go. Come on. Let's just get in on that fun together.
All right, Kyle, anytime Taysom Hill touchdown score. Dallas, anything on this game for you?
Yeah, for me, it's back to the tight end. It's a guy that I've talked about a couple of weeks actually in a row on Start Sit with Kyle. It's Adam Troutman. His reception total, basically prop bet over the last 5 weeks, has been 2.5. So you're looking for 3. He's seen 85% plus of the snap share over the last 7 weeks straight. And he's seen 6+ targets over the last 4 weeks with 4+ receptions in 3 out of those 4 weeks. So I'm going to be leaning the Adam Troutman line. Like I said, I don't bet very often, so don't throw a ton of money on it, but I'm pretty confident just based off of the target share he's getting with Simeon at quarterback. There's 2 people that he looks to, and right now it's Traquan Smith and Adam Troutman.
All right. I like the honesty. I would keep an eye on if Troutman plays. He was a little nicked up on that game on Sunday against the Eagles. Dr. Kyle, what was your take on this game?
Man, Thursday sucks. I feel like, look, we have 6 teams all coming off losses. A lot of teams need wins, it seems. The one thing, look, Sean Payton lost 3 games in a row for the first time in 5 years. I can't see him losing a 4th, or at least not covering the 4th at home on Thanksgiving. The Bills play the Patriots in what's going to be a really, really important game a week from Monday. So I would take the Saints here, getting points at home. They're one of the teams with a real true home field advantage. If I think a total, I think I've said under for all 3. We know Sean Payton likes to run the ball. I don't think he wants to lean on Trevor Siemian. If I'm not the prop guy, I'd be curious what Trevor Siemian's pass attempt over under is. That could be somewhere to look, especially if, who knows, like maybe mid game he's just like, screw it, like let's just give Taysom Hill the ball, half the game, whatever it may be. So yeah, Saints in the points.
There's
under.
Not a passing prop. There's not a passing prop on Simeon. There's one on Josh Allen attempts, but there's not one on Simeon. I'm actually gonna throw out a prop for this game, impromptu, by the way, because I started thinking about Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore is having a resurgent season as a shutdown DB1, and I was looking at Stephon Diggs' box scores, I guess yardage, and the prop is 80.5 on DraftKings. 80.5 yards on DraftKings. That's a number he's hit twice in the last 5 weeks. He had 89 against the Titans, and he had 162 against the Jets. But against the Colts last week, it wasn't the rain. He only had 4 for 23. And then at the Jaguars, he had 6 for 85 and 5 for 40 against the Dolphins. And I do think Marshawn Lattimore can slow him down. He may wind up with a stat line of something like 6 for 70, but I don't think he goes over 81 yards. So I'm going to go under Stephon Diggs, 80.5 receiving yards. I think this is going to be an ugly game. We'll see how it goes. I think the I think there's going to be an attempt to get the running game going. I think Sean Payton is going to see what the Colts did with Jonathan Taylor. Hopefully they can get Alvin Kamara back after missing the last 2 games with a knee. But they've been leaning very heavily on Mark Ingram. I think they tried to slow this game down. Again, I like the call of mixing in Taysom Hill. So there you go. There's some nuggets and some notes on the 3 Thanksgiving games. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. I'll be back on Saturday and maybe Friday. We'll see what's going on. Definitely not going to be out shopping. I'm not an idiot. So I'll be around the house. We'll be putting something together. I'll be doing maybe Dr. Kyle will do me the solid of sending me a few more picks, and I'll put together a quick big bet show for you guys, along with a mix in of some people's propcast back for 1 week only in 2021. All right. On behalf of Kyle August, Dallas Hyder, Lou Sherman, aka Lou Dog, and my buddy, the man of the hour, the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair, we're going to remind you that here at the Fabulous Big Bet, money won is twice as sweet as money earned. And we'll see you next week.
Sounds like football, baby.
Oh, what's going on? We are 1 hour and 5 minutes into this damn thing. I can't believe we made it this far. I'm your host, Kyle August. You're checking out the Fantasy Football Smackdown Start Sits, and we got a full room here. I'm going to start by introducing these guests, and I'm going to go to the man that has had to bring up the caboose here and there, but we're going to start with the man batting lead off is Lou Dog at Lou Dog Sherman. Lou, how's it going, man? I also need your go-to Thanksgiving Day food. Need your number 101.
Ooh, my 101. We had this draft last year, but I think I'm going to go with my favorite thing is mashed potatoes on the dinner plate. Thanksgiving.
All right, good deal. And we are, if you're watching live still and hanging out, we're going to have the Daily Destroyer. That's where Lou makes his money here on the DWZ network. Of course, we're going to keep it rolling. If you watch the SmackDown, even listen to my shows on all these years, way back in the fellas, we just talk about food all the damn time, sprinkling some fantasy football. Jerry Sinclair, good to have you here. Best hair in the business. Sorry, Dallas. What up, man? How you been?
I don't know. I would still give it to Dallas. I'm great. It is good to be back here. The intro got me so hyped. I was ready to flip my computer off my desk and get this party rolling. What's your best Thanksgiving side, man?
Oh, well, mine's easy. If the people know, it's the cranberry sauce that comes straight out of the can. That when you get flip it, it goes, and then it has the ridges, so you know where to cut. Thanksgiving Day food for dummies, right here.
You have the palate of a street rat.
Well, it's that's I think I'm okay with that. I think I've been more insulted in the past.
Between you and your canned cranberry and your dinosaur chicken nuggets at Thanksgiving, I don't know if I can continue doing this podcast.
Well, I know it's Thanksgiving whenever Jerry Sinclair brings his turkey is trash to the Twitterverse. So good to have you here, man. We got one. We don't not just one. We got 2 Kyles on the show. Dr. Kyle making his return to the Fantasy Football Smackdown, but I think this is the first time that we've been on the show together. I think you've held it down for me on prior shows, but how's it going, man? How you been, Kyle?
Good. I'm also a fan of canned cranberries and also a low-key fan of green bean casserole. I've only ever had one green bean casserole, thanks Aunt Nancy, and it is the bomb. So I look forward to that every Thursday and probably like anywhere from like 12 to 27 beers.
There you go. That actually, I'm going to change my pick. My favorite Thanksgiving Day food is beers. Actually, number 1 would be cold beers. Number 2 would just be beers. So whatever you got, readily available. Of course, the Godfather, the man himself, Memphis, making his triumphant return to the SmackDown and been hosting this here mammoth show all night. I'm going to give him a breather here and take over these duties. But Memphis, how you been, man? What's your Thanksgiving food hot take?
Well, it's good. It's good to be here.
Hey now.
And my go-to is my mother-in-law's dessert. It is 7-layer bars. It's got like peanut butter chips. It's got coconut. It's got chocolate. It's got 7 layers. I know at least 3. They're delicious. I usually make my wife hide those for me because that's will literally be all I eat all day. And like they always turn around like, where did all these go? And they know it's me. It's like, why are you asking hypotheticals? Why don't you just ask me how many I'm actually going to eat? And the answer is all of them.
That's good stuff, man. I dig it. And of course, he's back in the saddle, the tight end whisperer himself, the man that cannot be stopped, the man that led me to play Zach Ertz and smashed the living bejesus out of one G the Aussie. It's Dallas returning to glory. How's it going, man?
Good. It's great to be back. Classic intro. I recognize that one as opposed to the other ones a little bit better. But yeah, if I had to go with my Thanksgiving, I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to like things just I only eat on Thanksgiving. It would be pumpkin pie. And then I don't think I've ever had a crescent roll not on Thanksgiving. So those would probably be my two when it comes to the meals. But yeah, I'm ready to talk some more SmackDown jazz today.
Heck yeah, man. All right. Good stuff. Yeah, that's the one thing I like about Thanksgiving is there's a lot of good food. As people that listen to this show over the years know, I'm not against much, but I do like the Thanksgiving Day foods that you just eat on Thanksgiving. That kind of makes it a little bit special. So it's kind of like the Lions. It's the only time I ever pay attention to the Lions is that one day a year. So that's why it makes the Lions so special. Let's get these things rolling. We got starts and sits. We got a full crew here, 6 of us. So each of us are going to bring just one start and one sit. And I think we got some good ones here. So let's kick it all the way back. We'll go to Lou. I'm looking in the doc here. I like in yours. So I'm going to make you bat lead off once again. What is a player that you're looking to start this week heading into week 12?
Yeah, I'm looking to start Elijah Moore, and some of that might be a little biased too. I had him on the bench on a couple leagues last week, and that burned me because he finally went off, and he seems to be the number 1 wide receiver now at the Jets, and his upside's pretty high. He had 11 targets last week, especially if we're going to see Flacco there again, but. I mean, the big thing for me is they're facing the Texans too. So it's one of the best matchups he's going to have. And he's coming off of a week where he was highly targeted. We've seen the upside, and I really like him this week.
Yeah, and with when you got Kansas City and Arizona on bye this week, you got some players missing in action. So hopefully it'll be a little bit easier. But I know Elijah Moore's been putting up those points on a lot of people's benches. So hopefully he can get it done this week in a good matchup because there's no way the Texans can do it twice, right? As someone who started Ryan Tannehill in every single league that I owned him, Sunday was a living hell. So hopefully the Jets of all people can be the ones to turn it around against the mighty Houston Texans. Jerry Sinclair, everyone knows that your weekly start sits are gold. That's why you can't give them out to the public for free. So who are you starting this week?
You say that, and then I'm going to answer with the guy that I wrote down, and it makes me feel a little dirty because it's Miles Sanders. So I'm going to have to give you a little caveat with this, because if you are in a situation where you are deciding where Miles Sanders may be the guy you need to put in your lineup, you are in a bit of a pickle, for lack of a better phrase. But he's gotten work, right? So he got 16 carries immediately. He got almost 100 yards. The last time that he played them, he had almost the same. They have a bad run D. Jordan Howard's out. Like, the stars are aligning for him to disappoint me, but for whatever reason, I'm in on it a little bit.
All right, there you have it. If you're in a league that you can only start players named Miles Sanders or other measures of distance, then you can plug in Miles Sanders. I dig it. I was pretty happy with his usage right out of the gate. Considering that he posted on Instagram that he was back 10 days ago, and then the Eagles were like, well, maybe he could be back. Who knows? And then they activate him and play him, and he got decent workload. So with Howard out, I dig it. Kyle, I'm going to kick it to you, man. What do you think about these 2 first starts with Elijah Moore, Miles Sanders? Any thoughts on those, and who you looking to plug and play into your lineup in week 12? Oh, did he pull a Jerry on this show?
Baby. Yeah,
oh, yes, there it is.
There's the shame.
Snoozing, doing my research over here because, to come prepared on a Wednesday night, folks, is a feat. To come prepared on a Tuesday night does not happen. Elijah Moore, I love it. Got him in the Scott Fish Bowl. If my team was built to win late, so fingers crossed for that. And then Miles Sanders saw decent work last week. Like you said, Jordan Howard's out. I'm trying to buy him in one league, so I know that guy is a clown. I'm probably not going to end up with him, but my guy, and it might be square as shit. I don't know. But going back to the Michael Gallup, he had all the peripherals last week, and just the fantasy football box score looks a little bit like a dud. 5 receptions for 44 yards. Seems disappointing, but 10 targets on a 94% snap share. And like Dallas said, like Dak has an eye for him. He is the downfield guy. He can catch it in space. He can catch it contested. So I'm going back to the Michael Gallup everywhere. I got him everywhere. I've waited so long for it to come back. I can't put him back on the shelf.
There you go. I keep telling myself that too. When I look at a lot of my rosters, I'm like, oh, this is a win down the stretch team. And then hopefully that part comes sometime soon. But the target numbers were crazy for Gallup last week, despite them not being able to put it together. But I think that better days ahead for that offense for sure. And especially when you're talking about Cooper out for sure, Lamb up in the air. I like the call quite a bit. Memphis, I like the name I'm seeing here on yours. I'm interested to hear your take on him for week 12. Then I got a follow-up question for you. Who's your start here for week 12?
My start of the week is James Robinson, and I don't want it to make it feel like a lazy take. Oh, hey, thanks, Memphis, for telling me to start the RB15 on the season. But, he is coming off of a heel injury, and he's coming off of arguably his worst game of the season. He had 12 rushing attempts for only 29 yards, but he has scored a touchdown in 6 of his last 7 starts. The one start that he did not was the game that he got hurt against the Seahawks. This guy has a nose for the end zone, and this is a great matchup. Atlanta has given up the 6th most fantasy points to the running backs this year, but also they've given up the 10th most receptions to the running back position this year. Just a lot of reasons between, touchdowns are not always guaranteed. They're very hit and miss, but it seems like when they get to the goal line, he's involved and the matchup's great. I think the line, I know we recently did the Fabulous Big Bet podcast with all you guys, speaking of gambling, and the line in this game is Atlanta is a 1-point favorite. So they should be in this game. There should be plenty of rush attempts for James Robinson, and just give me the guy who's going to get the volume.
Yeah, I was much appreciative of that James Robinson touchdown last week. It was one of those squeezing it in between the actual games that mattered on Red Zone. They're like, by the way, we show you every touchdown. Here's James Robinson. That was good day saver for him in week 11. What's your quick, because you're the Dynasty man, we record the Dynasty Warzone. This is a guy that I've pretty much hedged my bets. I didn't sell him before the draft last year because Jerry Sinclair told me not to. Then they drafted Travis Etienne. I wanted to punch myself square in the scrotum. Then Travis Etienne gets injured. And I'm like, hell yeah, look at me. I'm back on top because I own James Robinson. And we might be going back through that whole cycle once again. So what are you doing with James Robinson in Dynasty there, Memphis?
I'm holding, or if someone wants to give me a discount, I will buy. I mean, how many backfields do we have to see support 2 running backs before we realize that it's not an all or nothing proposition? I mean, there's a handful of those out there, but I said before the season, this could be a poor man's version of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And James Robinson is playing that role. I mean, we'll call it for the Dynasty Warzone because we've said it before. To me, it's the Peter Griffin corollary about the boat. Whoa. It's the mystery box, but Peter, you got a boat. I understand that. But in that mystery box could be anything, even a boat. And that's Travis Etienne. He could be a running back 1, and he very well could be. But I know James Robinson, barring any more injuries, is going to finish with back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons, back-to-back RB1, which is a top 12 finish in my book. I'm always going to consider an RB1, wide receiver 1, et cetera, as someone who finishes top 12 in their position group. And he's going to do it 2 years in a row. And I've also seen Jacksonville trade players they've invested first-round draft capital in before. Not midway, but like 3 or 4 weeks into the season, they traded former 9th overall pick C.J. Henderson. They traded him to the Carolina Panthers for Dan Arnold in a 3rd. Nothing would make me more happy because I'm greedy and I have plenty of Etienne as well as Robinson. But I would do nothing would make me happier than to see them trade Travis Etienne or James Robinson to Arizona in the offseason. We'll see what happens. But no, I'm cool with holding or even buying James Robinson in a dynasty.
I dig it. That was selfishly just for myself, so I could see if I want to move on from any James Robinson shares this upcoming offseason. So appreciate the dynasty spin there. Let's get to my regular co-host on this Start Sit show every single week. The dude brings the tight end fire, and you got another tight end start for us this week. Dallas, who are we looking at?
Yeah, before I dive in, does everyone collectively on this video believe in the tight end whisperer? Because he only exists if you believe in it. All right,
I believe.
Just stats for everyone, because there's a lot of you. I feel like you're not following.
He has his own stats. He brings his stats about himself. Let's hear it.
Yeah, come on. The Dallas Hider stats for you. I've made 6 tight end picks for this illustrious show. Out of those 6 picks, I'm averaging 19.6 points per game in a straight PPR, non-tight end premium from my picks. I've had one under 10 points at 8.7, and that was just because touchdowns are not sticky. All right. But I go based off of volume, and my start for this week is a guy that is seeing all the volume for his team, all the snaps, and is just being forgotten just really because he hasn't had any insanely high boom weeks. That's Tyler Higbee with the Rams. He's going up against Green Bay this week, who, although they're in the middle of the pack against tight ends on a scoring standpoint, they're actually tied for the 3rd in the league currently with receptions allowed to the tight end position at 6 per game. So looking at that, pretty steady floor from a guy like Tyler Higbee, who's sitting right now over the last 5 games. He's seen under 97% of the total team snaps of the tight end position once, and it was in the complete blowout where they took him out against Houston in the 3rd quarter. Over that same time span, he's averaged 6 targets a game. He's averaged 5 receptions a game. You're sitting at a floor in normal tight end right there at 50 yards a pop. You're looking at a minimum without a tight end touchdown, probably somewhere in the 9 to 10 point range. I like this matchup against Green Bay. I like the opportunity for a touchdown more than I've liked it over the last couple games. And you're going to see that tight end target volume funnel that we're still getting, even with the addition of OBJ, even with the breakout of Van Jefferson earlier on in the year. So I'm pretty high on Tyler Higbee. You should be starting him at the tight end position. Odds are he's on your waiver wire in a lot of leagues that are non-dynasty, at least.
I like the call, and I like anything that will put OBJ just lower in everyone's mind. So Higbee hopefully can put up a big game here, keep this streak going. He's gotten the Dallas blessing, so let's move on with that hit rate. I'll give you my start of the week. It's Brandon Ayuk. 2 months ago, this guy apparently had keyed Kyle Shanahan's car. Pissed in his gas tank, did something, I don't know, but the dude couldn't find the field. But that has changed over the last month. This dude's been a lot better. Brandon Ayuk is my start. He's going up against Minnesota. This one's going to be in San Francisco. Minnesota gives up the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers on the year. They've given up 17 or more fantasy points to our wide receivers 7 times in the last 4 games. And Brandon Ayuk, like I said, he's out of the doghouse. 26 targets in his last 4 games. That was after 16 targets in his first 6 games. So 26 over the last 4 versus 16 in that first 6. Craziness. 7 or more targets in 3 of his games, and he's at an 88% snapshot or better in the last month. Give me Brandon Ayuk going up against the Vikings. I dig it. So, and I say I dig it because it's my own damn pick. All right, let's move on to the sits, the stuff we don't dig. Lou, we'll let you lead this one off. Who are we fading in week 12?
For me, it's Myles Gaskin. I think last week he had a pretty solid game, but a lot of that came just from volume. He hasn't been very efficient. He's got about 3 yards per carry over the last 5 games. And Carolina's had a pretty decent defense this year. And I think coming off of a game where it was a cake match, and then now people see like he almost didn't get there last week. Like he was able to get a touchdown through the air, but for me, I think it could have just sort of been a false flag, and it's going to come back down to earth this week.
Yeah, he was actually in consideration for my sit as well. He was my start last week because the Jets defense is completely putrid. And so I'm watching that game very closely. I might have thrown a little bit of action on Myles Gaskin to score. And in that, it was the first or second drive. They hand off and this guy goes run onto the edge and scores. And I see a 7. I'm like, hell yeah. And it wasn't Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin was a Wildcat quarterback and hands it to Jaylen Waddle. So luckily my start last week hit because Gaskin got all that work last week and scored the touchdown because that's what running backs do against the Jets. But I like fading him in week 12. Another man we won't fade is Jerry Sinclair, who's going to bring us with his fade of the week. Who you sitting there, Jerry?
It's gonna piss you off a little bit, buddy, because you like this guy, and I like this guy, but it's T. Higgins. So he's Pittsburgh. They got Minka Fitzpatrick likely coming back. Joe Hayden's probably coming back. We'll see about T.J. Watt. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 2, and Joe Mixon has been a absolute touchdown monster over the last 7 games. I think he has 9 or 10 touchdowns. He scored touchdowns in every single one of those games. Jamar Chase is the dude there. T. Higgins hasn't been bad, right? Like he's gotten targets, he's gotten catches, he's gotten some yards. Nothing explosive. I don't know. Just for that reason alone, I'm gonna hurt my own soul. I'm gonna hurt the host's soul, and I'm gonna take T. Higgins.
Yeah, it hasn't been T. Higgins' season as much as I would have liked it to be. So hopefully he can bounce back here in this last third of the season down the stretch, because I know he's in a lot of my lineups, but could be tough sailing this week against a healthier Pittsburgh defense. Fellow Kyle, man, who you got? Who you sitting? Who's out this week?
Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, screw that guy.
Boo. That's like all those Adam Sandler movies, just some guy in the background boos because Ryan Tannehill shows up. We've seen the Titans. They've had some big wins up until this week, which, if you got a sneak peek at the Dynasty Warzone Fabulous Big Bet spreadsheet that Memphis and I did not get to share with the world. So if you know my password, maybe you saw that we were on the Texans plus 10 last week. I'm renting. Anyway, Tannehill, yeah, he's got a tough matchup this week. He's going into New England. The Titans have 0 weapons unless you're interested in Dontrell Hilliard, because probably somewhere you're going to need to put in all your fab and start a guy like that. But if you have a better option than Tannehill, I feel like at best he's a back-end QB too. So if you're in 1 QB leagues, you should definitely not have to start Ryan Tannehill. And if you're in Superflex, I would hope that you have somebody with slightly more upside. Sit him.
Yeah, he's outside the top 15 for me this week. I believe he is over at Fantasy Pros as well in their consensus rankings. You want to try to get away from him if you can. A.J. Brown banged up in a tough matchup. Not a good combination there. Let's go over back to Memphis. Memphis, who are you planting on the pine in week 12?
Well, I'll give you a spoiler, a hint. It's a former teammate of Ryan Tannehill, and you know what handsome gentleman that hosts the Dynasty Warzone? Do you know which one of those 2 hosts was very anti Ryan Tannehill coming into this season? Because he knew that new Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator Todd Downing was nothing but a sack of shaved monkey nuts. Yeah, it was me. Just a horrible situation. I never bought the hype of, oh my God, it's Julio and it's AJ Brown, and Tannehill was doing okay when Derrick Henry was there, but man, that's tough sledding. I'm actually fading his former teammate Jonnu Smith and his current teammate Hunter Henry. Tennessee is a low-key tough matchup against the tight end. They have only given up about, we'll call it just 4 catches a game. It's just a shade under for 34 yards a game to the tight end position in total. And it's not like they faced a bunch of bums at the tight end position. They have faced Dawson Knox, who's a top 10 fantasy tight end. They faced a guy named Travis Kelce. Colts have okay tight ends. I mean, they faced some decent tight end groups this year, and they've been very, very stingy. You think about how Bill Belichick is going to want to win this game. And you know what's weird is that if you look at every team with the exception of Kansas City, who's leading their division currently, they're capable of running the ball. And it's almost as if running the ball, it's like head coaches, they're like thumbing their nose at the analytics nerds. We're just going to run the ball. Yeah, we know. We've heard you tell us that passing's more efficient and blah, blah, blah. And Bill Belichick's like, here's 2 middle fingers and a healthy dose of Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris. So for me, It may be harder to get away from Hunter Henry because he's got so much touchdown upside. But if I can, I'm getting away from Jonnu for sure. And if I have like a Dawson Knox or someone of that nature, I'm trying to get away from Hunter Henry for the week as well.
Yeah, there you go. Just plug in Tyler Higbee over Hunter Henry, and you will hit.
Plug him in. Some other tight ends. I mean, we were already past that, but like if you're looking, you guys have done the waiver wire, but guys that the Chargers, that they're playing the Broncos. Maybe you could get away with player Albert Okwuegbunam. Philadelphia, I know everybody hates Evan Ingram. I would rather play Evan Ingram. The Philadelphia Eagles are the best matchup for the tight end position. They're giving up, we'll call it just over 7 catches a game for about 78 yards a game to tight ends. He'll probably drop at least 3 of those targets, but if there's ever a shot for Evan Ingram to convert one, it's this week. We'll throw it back to your co-host, the tight end whisperer. We'll get his sign off, his seal of approval.
I was going to say Memphis is in here trying to get in on that action. Dallas, what's your any thoughts on those guys? Then you can take it away with your sit as well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the sit at tight end. Not really high on this week. Mine is a little bit different. I'm diving back into the wide receiver pool, so probably to do the opposite of what I'm telling you to do, but it goes a little bit into my Bears hatred for this week, and my sit of the week is actually going to be Darnell Mooney. For me, I don't like the matchup that he's going to have. The Lions have been actually a little bit difficult against the wide receiver position as a whole. The defense with Dan Campbell at the helm has been a little bit better than you would expect. They're about middle of the pack. Right now, Mooney has to be the one with Andy Dalton at quarterback. He also has what I think is a foot sprain. He got kind of hobbled at the end of the game. It was pretty much the last play of the game. His targets have been holding his value up, which is great. That's what I want to see in a wide receiver, but I don't like what this game script is most likely going to be. Lou had alluded to it a little bit earlier in our other segment about how this line, you should probably be betting the under on it just because it's going to be most likely an ugly game. So I don't like Darnell Mooney to have a big game. He's been pretty consistent as of late, but most of that was with Justin Fields, and the big boom that he had was what he can do, which is a screenplay, but I'm avoiding him this week.
There you go. And especially with Allen Robinson unlikely to play, a lot of people might be looking that route, but steer clear. Dallas warns you guys, don't be sitting there with that poor performance sitting in your face all weekend as you're setting that lineup still and having to march around Darnell Mooney's crappy performance. So I'll wrap this thing up. My sit of the week, if you can get away from him, it's always tough to say to sit any running back that's been productive enough. But if you can get away from Leonard Fournette, I'm going to try. He's currently running back 15 over at Fantasy Pros rankings for this week. He's going up against a really tough defense on the road in Indy. Memphis' stomping grounds. That defense has held running backs to the fewest fantasy points on the season, including just 3 rushing touchdowns on the entire year. And playoff Lenny, he might be saving it for the playoffs apparently too, because he has not been very good as of late over the last 3 games, has no more than 11 carries, no more than 50 yards rushing. The receptions have definitely helped him over the last couple weeks. Some man named Ronald Jones stumbled into the end zone by accident on Monday Night Football for Tampa Bay. But if I can get away from Leonard Fournette, I'm going to try to in this tougher matchup. He had a nice little, he started off really cold, had a nice little run there, and has been cold over the last 3 weeks. So I'm going to try to get away from Leonard Fournette if I can. Although when you look at the running back rankings after him, it gets pretty gross. We've some guys are dropping like flies right now. So yeah, that's it. I'm putting a bow on this thing. I'm just going to end this. We got one more segment here if you're watching us live on YouTube. So before I kick this outro music, be sure to check out all of these guys wherever you listen to podcasts. This has been a fun year for me personally, hanging out with all these guys on this network and doing the show with Dallas on Thursday as well. So if for some reason you're not checking out the Big Bet with Memphis and Kyle, or the War Zone, of course, the Mothership, or the Daily Destroyer with Lou and Tyler, you need to be. I will be, little programming note for myself, I will be back on Saturday. I got nothing else to do this weekend, apparently. So I'm going to do waiver wire sniping, regularly scheduled, YouTube only on Saturday. So for myself and all these fine gentlemen, this has been the Smackdown. We're going to keep this train moving. Here we go.
All right. And well, Looks like I'll be editing. We lost somebody. Somebody bailed. Oh, Dallas. Dallas ripcorded. All right. What's happening? My name is not Tyler, but this is the Daily Destroyer. My name is Memphis. I host the Dynasty Warzone along with some other things over at the DWZ Fantasy Football Network. But this next voice is one that you're very, very familiar with. Mr. Lou Sherman. What's up, Lou Dog?
Hey, how's it going? I'm excited. We're an hour and a half in, but excited to finally get to the segment that I've been doing for the last 3 months now.
You know, we didn't put the Daily Destroyer at the end of the live stream on purpose. It's just in the way that I have to edit these. So if you're listening to this on Saturday, which is the day the Daily Destroyer usually drops with Tyler and Lou, what we did is we did a live stream on YouTube on Tuesday night. We did every show. We did the Dynasty Warzone. We did the Fabulous Big Bet. We did the Fantasy Football Smackdown Start and Sit edition. And then this is the Daily Destroyer. We wanted to make sure that all of our people that consume our content got their podcast every day as they're used to getting it. But we also wanted to do it in a way that allowed all of us to get together, fellowship a little bit, and get it all done in one big shot that would allow us to then spend Wednesday through Sunday with our families, unless you're a true degenerate like me and our first guest, Mr. Kyle August. He hosts the Fantasy Football Smackdown, but on Saturdays, live on YouTube only. If you go to the Dynasty Warzone, just search Dynasty Warzone on YouTube, you'll find it. And on Saturdays, you'll find Mr. Kyle August hosting Waiver Wire Sniping. Mr. August, how are you?
Dude, I'm coming off that high, just wrapped up the SmackDown episode, and this ain't over yet. Just more fun to be had here. So still running strong with you boys. It's been awesome.
I'm going to quote the American movie cinematic classic Rocky V. When Sylvester Stallone is fighting Tommy Morrison, he looked at him and goes, "Hey, Tommy, I didn't hear no bell." Kyle, I didn't hear no bell. We got one. Rocky V. I didn't hear no bell. And this next guy, speaking of ringing the bell, he's the man of the hour and the man with the power. We haven't talked DFS with this guy in a long, long time. Mr. Jerry Sinclair, how are you?
I am good, man. Listen, speaking of Rocky V, I am easily the worst of the five that are talking about this because Rocky V is shit, and I say that wholeheartedly. Tommy Gunn, get out of it. They're fighting in an alley. Like, who drew that up?
That never happens in Philadelphia. A couple of drunk guys fighting behind a bar on a Thursday night.
Listen, it is fun to finally have to do this again because I'm not a huge DFS guy, but we did it for a long time on the Warzone, and I had to do a little diving to try and figure out what I was going to do today. So it was fun.
And then this next guy, he helped me with some DFS last year on the Fabulous Big Bet. He's also a board certified doctor of physical therapy. He is Mr. Dr. Kyle Bowser. What's up, Mr. Bowser?
I'm a bird. I'm a plane. I'm board certified. And yeah, I think when you say I helped Bunny Ears with the DFS segment. Happy to hand that off to the professional that is Lou Dog and Tyler. Those guys run shiz. And they do a hell of a better job than we did last year. So happy to be here.
So, some of my favorite interactions with people on the YouTube stream, as well as on Twitter, are people thanking me for bringing Lou and Tyler on board to do DFS. I'm like, no, the pleasure's all mine. I'm not good at this. I used to call myself at best Mr. Mincash. Occasionally, I'd be in a $20 tournament and I'd get like $8. I'm like, how is getting a 40% return on my initial investment a good thing? But Lou, man, you love this stuff. You guys have been killing it this year.
Yeah, we've had some good success for the most part. We had a couple of weeks in there that were a little worse, but we won in our cash teams. We were winning. I think it was the first 5 weeks we all won. Then we had 2 weeks off, and then we got back at it. So I think overall in the season we've been up, which is always a good thing, and that's what we strive for every week.
I believe, if memory serves me correctly, you guys are like 7-4, 8-3 on winning weeks. You guys definitely help people, especially in cash. I got news for you. If you're playing tournaments, just go down to the local Quickie Mart, buy a couple of scratch offs, and there are better things to spend $20 on. Because Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll ask you because you know a lot about these things. It just feels like for the average Joe, which is the Dynasty Warzone, we're the working class fantasy gambling DFS consumer. It's hard to beat these big, super groups of users that are working together with their algorithms and huge bankrolls on these tournaments. So if you're going to play DFS, would you highly recommend cash? That's why you and Tyler focus on it?
Right now, for like the regular guy who's not paying for a site that has projections and people that are running like the deep numbers, and you have to stay on top of news. Like Sunday morning, an hour before lock, you kind of have to be on top of it if you're switching around based on different injuries, like a backup running back pops up, a backup wide receiver pops up, and things like that you can really just have to go in and change a bunch of lineups. So for us, we like to show people, hey, if you're just making one lineup, here's the guys that we're looking at, and basically trying to fit into that 50K salary.
All right. Well, we're going to go around the horn real quick. Everybody's going to give you a guy that we think that you could plug into a lineup. And then since Lou is the expert, Lou, when we'll let you go last because you're the expert. But when Jerry gives you his guy, you tell us, would you prefer him in a cash game or would you prefer him in a tournament? So Jerry, who is your guy?
Trash can.
Oh, or not at all. Yes, we will like that. So Jerry, who is your guy? How much? And by the way, we're using DraftKings for this. We're using DraftKings pricing. Jerry, who's your guy?
I picked Brandon Cooks, who's 5,800 right now. He's playing against the Jets. On our last segment, Kyle August called their defense, I believe, absolutely putrid, I think was the adjectives that he used. And that's true. He didn't have a great game last week, but I cannot imagine that Rex Burkhead gets 18 carries again. And then in the same game, David Johnson is going to go 13 carries for 18 yards. Like, I just cannot foresee a situation where David Johnson and Rex Burkhead get over 30 carries and like 50 yards. And if that's the case, then I think Brandon Cooks is going to be the guy that gets a lot of that action.
All right, Lou, Brandon Cooks, 5,800. Is that a cash game play or is that a tournament play?
I think that'd be a tournament play. I have nothing wrong with that play. I think what's funny is you brought up Burkhead having 18 carries last week. And I mean, they're facing the Jets. If there's a team to run on, it's the Jets this year. But I like Cooks because a lot of people, I think, are going to go back to guys like Waddle, who's right there, or like T. Higgins, Elijah Moore. There's a lot of guys in that range. So I think the likelihood with Cooks, Tyrod Taylor's back, so he has a somewhat decent quarterback now. So I like Cooks this week. I think he sounds like a decent play.
All right, well, let's go to. I'm gonna flip a Kyle coin. Kyle August of the Fantasy Football Smackdown. Well, we landed on the Smackdown. Who is your DFS play of the week, and what is his pricing?
Well, some asshole that has edit rights this doc put a little note next to mine after I put it in here. It says horrible take. So I don't know. I'm assuming it's Jerry because that just seems like something that he would do. It's spelled correctly, so I'm going to go with the best read person here. But I went with Michael Pittman. He is been really good on the season until last week. Took a nosedive in a very tough matchup against Buffalo, and also a matchup in which the Colts decided, we don't need to use anybody else because we have a little guy named Jonathan Taylor. So Pittman's number at 5,600 on DraftKings is the lowest it's been in quite a while. I know it's been 2 weeks without a touchdown, so people are going to remember him for those things. But I like Pittman this week as, I had the number, but I already lost it. So I guess that's on me. But as far as like where he's at in that range, he's just below some of the guys that Lou just mentioned as far as Brandon Cooks' price tag goes. So I'll take Michael Pittman to get back on track this week. which should be a good matchup for him. So Michael Pittman, horrible take. You got it.
All right, Lou, Michael Pittman at 5,600. Is that a cash game play or is that a tournament play?
It's tough because I could
Or a
see
no
you playing
play.
him in cash. Just because he seems relatively safe, and a lot of these Bucks games they're somewhat of a pass funnel. So I could see him getting talked up as being a cash play. Maybe last week hurts that, but I would guess people are going to want to play someone like Elijah Moore or Waddle over him. So maybe that's why he'd be a better tournament play.
All right.
And just
then
for the record, I did not actually put that. I think that was Dallas.
Oh,
that was not me. I gave
We'll go-
everybody editor rights on this one sheet. So it
Well-
could have been. Go ahead.
we'll see if he gets his invite back to the SmackDown next week.
You
then.
notice he knew you were going to talk and he's no longer on the stream. So coincidence?
Yes.
Maybe. But it wasn't this guy. This guy was out doing doctor things. Dr. Kyle, who is your return to the ring as it relates to DFS? Who is your pick tonight?
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. And if you want to know the details, you got to listen to the Dynasty Smackdown. Tyler Higbee, $4,200.
That would be the fantasy football SmackDown. You've done so many shows in a row that you're blending them together. Lou Dog,
The fabulous
Tyler
big
Higbee.
Smackdown.
the fabulous big
There we go.
SmackDown War Zone with DWZ Dr. Jerry Kyle. Lou, is Tyler Higbee a cash play or is he a tournament play for you this week?
I think he's a tournament play. He seems to be the type of guy who you're kind of playing him for getting touchdowns, I think, more so than some other guys at tight end. And tight end is just such a variable position that 4,200, yeah, I'd say he's probably tournament.
All right, and I do like Higbee. I am very curious to see between Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, and Odell Beckham Jr. who is going to be the featured number 2 option. They had the entire bye week to show us. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually ran the ball a little bit more, trying to reestablish the run. But speaking of establishing the run, my guy was also brought up on the Fantasy Football Smackdown as someone's play of the week. And for me, it's Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, 5,100, playing the Giants. The Giants are giving up 28 DraftKings points per game to the running back position. And here's another reason why I like him. The Giants also give up the 7th fewest rushing yards to the opposing QB. We know that the Eagles like to run the ball, especially Jalen Hurts, but the Giants, for whatever reason, seem to be in not too bad a shape as it relates to rushing quarterbacks. That doesn't mean that you have to fade Jalen Hurts. It just means that the Giants are more prepared to do that from a snap share standpoint. Last week, Miles Sanders played 36 snaps. That was 46%. Boston Scott played 29. But here's the thing. Jordan Howard got hurt, not likely to play in this game. So that gives me even more reason to like Miles Sanders. Final reason, no team running the ball more than the Philadelphia Eagles right now. On the season, they have the highest percentage of rushing plays. 49.63% of their plays are a rush. And over their last 3 games, they have rushed the ball 65% of the time. So you know there's going to be volume for Miles Sanders without Jordan Howard there in a great matchup, one that doesn't favor the rushing quarterback. For me, 5,100 feels like Miles Sanders is a very, very worthy play of your lineup. Lou, is my call of Miles worthy of being in your lineup? And if so, cash or tournament?
Yeah, I'd say you could play Miles Sanders in cash this week, 5,100. That's pretty cheap for a guy who is clearly going to get at least 15 plus touches. And everything you said, like, he's got a good matchup. The team runs the ball a lot. The only thing with him is Jalen Hurts. He had two rushing touchdowns last week, didn't he? So
I thought it was 3.
Did he have a third one? And so that's somewhat limiting the upside of Sanders, but 5,100, like it's hard to beat that for a running back.
The last thing we needed was Randy's ego stroke right at the end here.
It's the best way to wrap up this show, but the actual way to wrap up this show is you, as the co-host of this show, giving us who is your play of the week, and then you can just tell us if it's cash or a tournament play. I'm assuming cash. That's kind of your bag.
Yeah, I'm thinking for cash, I'm gonna do Justin Herbert as of now for quarterback. A lot of the big name quarterbacks are off this slate this week. You don't have like the Kyler Murray and Josh Allen, Dak, Mahomes. Those guys aren't on it, and he's only 6,600. And we saw it last week. Maybe he's gonna be running the ball a little more now. And he had 90 rushing yards last week, but against the Broncos, I think it's a decent matchup for him, and it seems like he's got his mojo back last week. So I really like Herbert.
It did feel like he got his mojo back, and we most recently saw Denver get their brains beat in by Justin Herbert and the Philadelphia Eagles. And don't sleep on that 9 rush attempts for 90 yards with Justin Herbert this past week. Is he going to repeat that? Probably not. But there are some blueprints out there, most recently with Jalen Hurts, on how to expose this defense. So I love it, and I love all you guys, and I love you guys, the listeners, for supporting us. All these guys have sat through about 2 hours of podcasting, trying to make sure that you, the podcast consumer, has your show, and not only has it, but has it on the day that you normally listen to it. So I'm going to go around the horn one last time. You've heard these voices a lot over the last 4 days, but we did that in an attempt to spend more time with our families. So, Lou, I'm going to go to you last. You can speak on behalf of you and Mr. O. Tyler, Kyle, August, what you got for us, buddy? What's going on the SmackDown? What can we look forward to the rest of the year?
Playoff push, baby. We're getting down to it. A couple weeks left. Going to be bringing home that bag here soon. Just got to get in that ship. So we got fantasy football. SmackDown is going to continue on with the waiver wire sniping show this upcoming Saturday. So post Thanksgiving Day edition, a few less players to choose from. But other than that, man, just keep bringing the waiver wire show at Tuesday a.m. start sits. So if you haven't checked out the start sit show live, I've been doing that with Dallas at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So it's a great way to pregame Thursday night football a bit, bring your questions, hang out. We pretty much try to make that 50% our prepared starts and sits and 50% your questions so they get on the show. So we've had a lot of fun doing that on the year so far. But yeah, man, this was freaking awesome. I was pumped for the idea, and it was really cool to be hanging out with you guys because we all got our own thing going on throughout the entire season. So we don't get to chat as much as we do in the off season. And this was a ton of fun and a great way to get this week moving along.
Yeah, we'll be doing a lot more of this when rookie content starts rolling. We'll start, getting with Dallas, and we'll be popping in the rookie rundown, the DWZ. Dr. Kyle, I'm going to get you out of here. You look super tired. You have a full day of work tomorrow before you and the lovely Mrs. Dr. Kyle go gallivanting all over the city of New York.
Yes, fried, but I'm so glad we did this. It's so good to hop on with all you guys who I only ever hear or see, and I actually get to talk a little trash now. Jerry, you're going down in the Australia versus USA league. I don't care as long as USA takes it down, but we're battling in there. That's I wish it was a little bit more active. Shout out to you Aussies. Like, wake up a little bit. Don't sleep through our days. Wake up for us. Send us some offers next year, I guess, because the deadline's passed. But yeah, good seeing you guys. Go Thanksgiving.
Mr. Man of the Hour, man with the power.
Go Thanksgiving, indeed. Listen, the problem is in that league, the Australians can't hang with us. Like every one of us is kicking the absolute shit out of every one of them. Sorry, boys. Throw another shrimp on the Barbie. You can't hang. Sorry about that. Go America, go Thanksgiving. Lou, send this motherfucker home, man.
Lou, what you got, man?
Yeah, excited. I'll probably be playing the Thanksgiving slate. It's always fun because with the 3 games, there's a lot of changing, and you see one guy goes off, and like the first game, let's say DeAndre Swift gets 30 fantasy points, then you like change the rest of your lineup because you didn't have him. So that's always fun to go and scramble, and you can watch all of the games in full, which is nice on Thanksgiving. So always excited for Thanksgiving slate.
And if they're looking for some Thanksgiving Day slate action, follow Lou on Twitter at LouDogSherman. He may drop some nuggets between now and then. So since this podcast was going to drop on its normal Saturday slot, we just covered the Sunday slate. But if you're looking for some Thursday nuggets and some wisdom, hit Lou up on Twitter. He can maybe steer you to a Thursday play as it relates to DFS on that Turkey Day slate. Guys, I can't appreciate you enough. We're going to wrap up the Daily Destroyer and this live feed. Again, Tyler, Lou, Dallas is already gone. Kyle, Jerry, you guys rock. This is what the DWZ is all about. And on behalf of all these beautiful, sweet gentlemen, my name is Memphis. And remember, here at every DWZ Fantasy Football Network podcast, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football, gambling football, and DFS football. Until next time, guys, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you back here next week with our normal lineup. Take care.